Hey, what is going on? Welcome back to the Naystar League. You get to see Valorant 2 times in 1 week. Now, that is a real treat. We've got 2 best of 3s here for you tonight. It's the conference championships to see who's going to be winning their individual conferences and who is going to be getting that favored seeding throughout playoffs. My name is Los, joined by Vincent, and we got some great teams on the roster today.
That we do. 2 teams in these 4 are actually top 5 teams in the entirety of the collegiate Valorant space. Blinn College has been in that position for a while now over the course of last semester and into this one. Going up against Grand Valley State University, that's going to be a tough matchup for Grand Valley. We'll talk more about that in a moment. The other one, a little bit of a newer look. Oklahoma Christian University is a little less familiar with this position. They just recently have made a huge step up in what we've been seeing from them this semester, and they jumped up to a top 3 position actually, which is pretty impressive. They going up against Irvine Valley College, another very difficult matchup for that second team on the graphic. Irvine Valley College are going to have to step up in this one, but we got to start with Blinn and Grand Valley State, don't we, Los?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm definitely a Blinn fan, specifically one player that we highlighted the last time we got to take a look at them. If we're talking Blinn, we're talking Teague, right? That is simply a divine breach player. We're going to talk about them all day. But, you know, Grand Valley State University, they did a fair job making their way through those play-ins, beating Toronto Metropolitan University. And, you know, that is a very skilled team as well, as we've seen here throughout the Naystar League. But, again, this is going to be a uphill battle, a mountainous climb to ascend, because the last time that these 2 teams faced each other in the server, Grand Valley lost 13-2, 13-2.
Indeed. Yeah, I mean, that was back in week 5. I unfortunately wasn't there for that one, but I looked back at the stream just to get a little refresher, and yeah, it was a bit of a rough one for Grand Valley State University. One of the things, though, to talk about is the fact that, listen, Grand Valley, they've been making adjustments. They've been working through some of the difficulties with, you know, going from a good roster to a great roster. That's a difficult adjustment to make, Los. It's not like it's easy to figure those things out. You need experience against good teams, and sometimes that means taking 13-2s and just taking them on the chin, then learning what you did wrong and adjusting. When I asked the coaching staff for Grand Valley State kind of where they were at, that's what they were telling me about, how they've been working through some problems and they think that they've got the solutions. They've had some role changes and they figured them out going into these matchups. So good timing. We'll have to see if that's going to be an effective strategy to get them into the winning position against a team like Blinn.
Well, now we have the stage being set here for this bout between these 2 colleges. It's going to be Icebox, Haven, and Lotus if we need it. You know, I'm actually really digging this map pool. I know how you feel about Icebox. We could just dance over that one for a moment. But Haven, that is going to be the true battleground, I believe, because it has been such a beautiful place for Blinn College to really exert their force and kind of have pressure from all different angles. So I'm excited to see what Grand Valley State is going to be able to put into play. And Lotus, you know, it's a refreshing map in the map pool, honestly, Vincent. So I'm excited to see it if we get to that point.
Yeah, I think getting to that point going to be the starting point for our conversation tonight, at least for GVSU. One of the things to note is in that matchup, we did see both Haven and Lotus back in week 5. So if we do get to see both of those maps today, I think it's going to be very interesting, as well as the fact that Blinn, after 13-2ing, they decided to pick Icebox, and that wasn't one of the maps that they won. I will say that Blinn has a very wide map pool, and that's probably why. In fact, when I asked their coach, they said, we play every map. We just counterpick, basically, was the answer. So got a lot of respect for that, and I gotta imagine that this Icebox is probably that, a little bit of a counterpick.
Hey, and you know, it's always important to flex those muscles, bring in a different map when it comes to these official matches. You want to show maybe not everyone who's watching in the VOD, but maybe your opponents, just a general idea that you can do everything. You don't have to leave it to the scrims. You have to put those skills and your map prowess in actual practice. And that's what's going on here. I'm not going to say that there isn't a big risk into taking a newer map, but it is very important. If this is a loss for Blinn as a series, they are going to face some very unfavorable seeding, and you don't want that going into playoffs. You want to have a cruise up into that final moment just to get into that prize pool. So this is still a high stakes scenario.
Indeed, more than just seeding actually on the line. Second place goes to the LCQ. Only first gets their ticket straight punched into playoffs, Los, which is a huge deal because Blinn, arguably for Varsity Premier, one of the favorites. I think it would be fair to say, as one of the best teams in the country. So it's serious stuff to lose out there. Blinn don't want to be going through the last chance qualifier because they've got a lot of other stuff that they're playing in, and they don't necessarily have the time to commit to it. Not that I think that they would lose in that LCQ, but it's certainly a gauntlet to run, and you don't want to take that chance. All of that being said, I did take a look at what Blinn's history on Icebox looks like, and well, to be honest, they don't seem to have that much experience on it, at least not in CVAL officials. Only played it once against LA Tech Blue, but this is a team that I know has a lot of practice under their belt. I mentioned that they've been together for just about a year now.
And, you know, that is a great amount of time working as a unit under a school, staying consistent, staying with that team, being able to be a dominant force across the entirety of the collegiate scene. And, you know, Blinn, how much can we talk up this team? I'm going to say at least for 2 more minutes. Because there's a reason that we have these strong feelings about them. As you said, a top 5 team in the entire region, and they're giving us reason that they could push even to potentially that top 3 position.
I would tend to agree. I mean, they've been sort of moving up and down within that top 5 a little bit here and there, and all of those teams in that space kind of, I feel like, can beat each other. We're going to get to see that here moving forward into playoffs. It's going to be a lot of fun. Just to talk a little bit more, though, about Grand Valley, one thing to note is that I mentioned some of those role changes. It's not Alu taking over the in-game leading role that Loof was on prior to that, and actually was on during that week 5 matchup. Loof still having some input, but it's Alu taking the main part of that. And the other side to that is that I was looking and asking about, okay, where are the individuals that we need to be taking a look at? Well, Dive came to mind, and when I was rewatching from that last matchup, obviously it was a little bit of it was a little hard to find the silver linings in back-to-back 13-2s, but if there was a silver lining, Dive in the lurk role was really showing off and pretty consistently able to potentially find some clutches as well.
You know, this is gonna sound absurd, but maybe losing wasn't a bad thing, because when you're in that moment, it gives you the greatest opportunity to see how can you improve the most. When you're having those consistent victories against, I would say, teams that aren't as strong as you, you don't know what to improve. When you're facing against teams that are in that upper echelon of the collegiate sphere, you know exactly how you're being manipulated, where your faults are, where your opponents are certainly thriving. That way you could read off of that, check the VOD, improve bit by bit by bit. And this has been, I would say, half the semester has gone by since that moment. So there has been plenty of time to recover, work on those faults, and come back incredibly strong. I mean, they were able to make it through those play-ins against TMU. Now this is their time to shine, and I'm sure Grand Valley, they're not hoping, they're not planning to go into that LCQ. They're looking to make it right to playoffs off the rip, and, you know, might be a possibility if these changes that came through during the season are actually that game-changing factor, and we're going on to a bit of an unknown for what Blinn is bringing to the table in Icebox.
You did mention that game against TMU. I do think it's important to mention a key bit of context, though. That was a forfeit win. TMU didn't play that game, and I think it would have been a close game. So, yes, they get credit for the win. That said, not to take anything away from them, I think that does add the questions of, is this proven yet? We don't know. we're going to have to see. But you spoke of time. It's time for us to take a short break. We're not quite ready to get into the game here, Lo. So we're just going to take a moment, take a break, and then we'll come back when we're ready to go.
And here we are. We've done it. Casters started the game, and we're heading into Icebox.
I think that deserves a W, Casters, if I'm being honest. What do you think, Los? Yes? Yes, no?
You know, in my unbiased opinion, I'd have to agree with you. And I would be writing that in the chat. Please go ahead. We have mods that are watching. If you don't say it, there's going to be an issue. But speaking of this first lineup, doesn't seem to be any issues to me. Looking at basically a mere composition depending on what Spaz is going to bring to the table.
One thing that is interesting is I feel like Sky's not super common on Icebox. Maybe I just haven't seen super high level Icebox in a minute, but I feel like typically you get the KO here. Regardless, I don't know that it super matters what Blinn picks on paper. And they've gone with the Harbor. This is interesting, Liz. Have you ever seen a Harbor on Icebox yet?
I have seen it in I believe, what was it, Lock-In? There was a use of Harbor on Icebox, but it just had a incredibly low win rate. So I'm not sure if we're ready for it. Is the scene ready for Harbor on Icebox? I mean, I am. I'm ready to go.
I do think it's going to be exciting. So, GVSU, with what I would consider a very traditional Icebox comp, this is like the safe pick. You know what I mean? Like, there's the ambitious pick. That's what Lid has gone with. They're like, let's get wacky. Let's get experimental. And GVSU have gone with the old tried and true, especially with the Sage and the Viper. It all just kind of makes sense, you know?
The standard, you know? You just can't hate on it, right? There's nothing to pick apart about it. It's what you'll usually see. And maybe that is what they need to do. There's no need for a deviation. Blinn, as you said, they're making some interesting maneuvers. But this pick in itself of Icebox is an interesting maneuver considering they don't play it too often. They don't have a standard map. They don't have a standard composition. Is this a flex or a mistake?
We'll have to see. Alrighty, I like this cascade. Makes a lot of sense to get them into position. Same normal toxic screen as we always see. And then we'll see the initial strategy come from there. It should be a relatively easy plant once all of this utility goes down.
This kid, she's got to back off. There's not much she can do. Might be able to land something over the high tide, but unfortunately it culminates to nothing. And such a deep plant. What are they doing back here?
I mean, this is so much control. They've got all of Snowman. As soon as this wall drops, yeah, goodbye, Erics.
Shy's still sticking around, and they also have to deal with that poison orb. So it makes a one-way for Alu to try and get the wide swing. They're good enough for one kill. Spaz will have the return. But unfortunately, no one can leave this area to actually take a fight.
Or Loof, like, swung that angle, just stepped back a little bit too far and had a toxic orb to the face. It's just not got to be good. Not got to feel good in the slightest. A very interesting plant position and aggressive strategy, but, you know, if you're going to play the Harbor, Los, take advantage of it, right? The high tide, it allows you to get a bit more creative with those plant strategies. That's the first time in, I mean, I'm checking, like, looking back in my notes, in the last year and a half that I've seen something different on the map of Icebox.
Is this gonna make you a fan? I'm curious because we've always been dealing with the same old box.
Listen, I very much, all of my criticisms of Icebox for the last, like, little while have been it's just boring. This is very interesting.
Uh-oh, Shy might find themselves getting too excited. Not to be the case. Just walk on in. But I think that Arax removing one rifle is all they will be able to secure. Bulldog recovered. Simple stuff for Blinn.
Yeah, looked pretty easy. Of course, that was an eco round. It was meant to be. And GVSU, though, it would have been nice to get a little bit more done. Expectations, we set them as Mira going to be setting up. Once again, what I'd assume we're going to see every single round of this half is that Toxic Strain. And what it does allow having the Harbor available is that you can set that Toxic Screen every round and it be okay, and you still have utility to work with. You can use the Viper to have your default utility, and then the take will be set up with your Harbor.
I'm enjoying that. You know, it also gives options that you have that constant threat on B, but maybe you don't feel like going it. The Harbor allows you to bring the flexibility, and I've often previously criticized Harbor as a inflexible support or controller, really. But now at this point, it's going to be a big pause before anyone starts the engagement. Teague wants to kick things off with Guiding Light.
And this Cove is another interesting little wrinkle, providing a little bit of extra protection in case you get spammed down. Of course, it doesn't protect you from the Vipers and the Snake Bites, but it does add that extra little wrinkle, as does the High Tide, which has gone up sort of alongside the same lines as the Toxic Screen. This will provide some time. GVSU just have to wait.
Down might be in a bit of an issue, and, well, there it is. Unfortunately, that's all Loof will be able to secure. It's going to be a call for a save, understanding that there is so much controller utility that is going to block off GVSU, and their only bit of information is going to come off of their use for Malu. And if you don't have the drone, you don't have the dart to get the info, it is going to be hell, and even worse, to break into sight.
I'm wondering what kind of uptime that actually looks like. I'll get back to you on that, because that seems a little bit interesting with the if you can get onto the site without using the High Tide, then go Toxic Screen, High Tide, Toxic Screen back up. What the theoretical uptime of all of those three things put together are. That is a lot of time bought off of the clock once the spike's down, Los. And even then, you have the Cove as well to get you into that position. Are we going to keep seeing this B hit until GVSU can stop it?
I think that might be the case, and it has to start with a forward placement of Loof. Unfortunately, first shot does not ring true, and it's even a wall bang from Shy. That is going to be painful. The first line of defense already gone, and now no one is able to get some vision to stop this plant. It's going to be a poison orb as well as the snake bite to prevent it, and now you've got all four players here from GVSU ready to fire down the second they hear that sound cue.
Feels like Flynn just have maximum control at the moment, and that's a good adjustment from Alu. You understand that last round you couldn't get back into this site, so you got to take the fight before the site gets taken, and that's going to cause a full rotation. Blinn back over to A, and they'll be walking into a entirely empty area of the A site. The Toxic Screen does go back up defensively, which at least creates some space, maybe chunks some health down temporarily, but by the time they get back in here, GVSU are still going to be working with a full 4-on-4.
Dive, the first one to have their look. And it feels that those sight lines were manipulated so well. Shy is able to take down one, but it really is all left to Biscuit. She swaps a Spectre for a Spectre. It's the 1v2. Completely healthy Blinn players in such a wide berth to play around. It's going to be the lineups, even if Teague wasn't able to secure that final frag. An impossible scenario.
So 4-0, that's the scoreline to begin with. A second gun round falling by the wayside. And GVSU now asked to at least do some more damage in these eco rounds, especially when you have extra cash to work with, a little bit of extra shields. You got some sheriffs. You're not working with nothing as you were in round number 2, for example. Finally, we're seeing a default back over towards the A site. The first time we've seen it since round 2. And it's going to engage an opening pick, but there's a good look to the other way.
Nice work from Shy, able to walk on through. Absolutely absurd. They're able to stay and keep their life. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with only pistols and you've got a madman running around with a Phantom, things are going to get a little difficult. Nice 4K, but those are some eco frags. But hey, let's pad the stats.
I mean, true. You could call them eco frags and you would be right, but at the same time, GVSU found 2 quick picks early with that eco round. I said they needed to do better, and they certainly delivered. With that said, it's time for Galaxy, the coach of GVSU, to have some input because it's a timeout from them. And I think good timing here, right? Round number 5, you've had 2 gun rounds, and you've had 2 failures. Now, try to see if there's anything that's been noticed, adjustments that can be made. We saw that happening, right? GVSU in that last pistol round adjusting slightly, and it helped them get a couple of picks. And then also Alu taking the fight early in front of the toxic screen at B in order to deny Blinn space at that site.
You know, it's great that we're seeing GVSU find these small bits that are slowly starting to ramp them up into having a formidable defense. And all that being found on a pistol round, on a sheriff buy, is looking promising. Now they're going to have some ultimates to come into this next round. Almost a full team worth of ultimates based on how many points we're away. Rifles in. I'm expecting this to be a very, very strong placement. It's 3 stacked on A, and that seems to be the destination for Blinn as well.
Does look that way, though. Very curious to see if they're going to adjust off the back of this when they see so many players here. So early utility hasn't given that away, and we haven't been seeing the early dart either.
Shy is simply insane to make this play, and they'd be a madman and a dead man for their result. But Spaz in town break on through beyond that high tide. Unfortunately, they haven't fully rooted out the site. This will be that final moment, but it cost them 2. Exchange for 3. This is the most likely scenario for the retake. It's going to start with Dive jumping down. Unfortunately, they're dealt with instantaneously. Here's Biscuit, last player here to make a hopeful endeavor. Unfortunately, a double stack on that peak. She's unable to deliver. It's going to be a 6th round there for Blinn, and it seemed good for GVSU, but every time they step up, it's just not good enough.
So, Los, I've done some math, been doing some calculating over here in the last couple of rounds.
All right.
Remember the question of the toxic screen, high tide, toxic screen, right? How long does that last? Well, 15 seconds if you're not using the orb, plus 15 seconds for the high tide, that's 30. And then it takes 20 to replenish fully from 100, or from 0 to 100. So you could get like 36, 37 seconds entirely without any downtime.
That's insane. And this is one of the earlier teams, at least in collegiate, to adopt something like this. It makes you wonder, why hasn't this been brought in before? It's as though there aren't many forceful players or agents on this team, but they make it work. It's simply their gun skills that allow them to build off the back of the set pieces that are created by the smokes.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly has been interesting. This is an interesting push as well. You've got 2 players for Blinn approaching the A site with this ultimate online, and Mira actually going to take 1 player out. That's going to force this Viper out of this situation, and Biscuit, she's got the frag, but it's still forced rotations.
I'm going to stick around. The Viper's pit, it's too limited for it to prevent an actual plant because they don't have to go within the domain of that ultimate. It's not exactly necessary. They could go right on top of the nest. Now you've got a bit more of an issue to deal with, as it is the commitment of the Hunter's Fury. I don't think it's found anyone or found enough to prevent the plant. Biscuit and Dive, though, about to pop off. But we've seen this situation before. Biscuit, she's been in the clutch moment a multitude of times. Can she pull it off this one time here on round 7? Teague is out by Boiler, and the second that Biscuit shows herself, she'll be right in the crosshairs, and it has happened once again. Teague coming in with a clutch. Biscuit just short of victory, and Blinn with 7 rounds in a row.
I mean, and it's such a smart play there from Blinn, putting that spike where it is, because in the post plant, I mean, Biscuit really is just sort of screwed if she goes through the toxin up the zip, right? Like that's just not really winnable because you don't have the sight line. You'd have to do some very impressive movement, you know? It's just a great setup. It puts Blinn in an advantage from the start, and, well, we asked, you know, how Icebox was going to go. I don't think that we were ever questioning whether Icebox was going to be effective, but it certainly has been looking good.
Decent commitment. All this utility. He got shy all the way in the back line. It's so wild how fast they can move with Jet. Simply living up to the mobility agent's name. Unfortunately, the running gun with the Phantom doesn't work out this time. Quick kill for Alu. Unfortunately, though, they have to deal with the lockdown. Not able to escape that one.
Yeah, it's a tough situation for Loof, and it just has created a lot of space now to come back in. There is a defensive lockdown, but at this point, there's not really enough time.
Yeah, you can tell. Town is ready for that possibility. You've also got to deal with the snake bites. There's simply nothing Grand Valley can do at this point.
Yeah. I mean, good for them to get out a save here. Oh, but one of them goes down. RX, that's so unfortunate. It's not as big a deal for Blend because, I mean, they're rolling in cash, let's be honest. They've got everything they need, and, I mean, Shy was at max money. So, it doesn't affect them, is the point I'm making. GVSU, on the other hand, you know, Bulldog out. It's not bad, but every little bit counts at this point. With 8 rounds already in the hands of Blend, this attack, I mean, it almost couldn't go better at this point.
Up in the hands of Loof now. This is the first time we've seen a real pressure from the Jet, at least on B side. But even if that was enacted, the real actions here on A side. And, you know, Blinn, they are willing to take these heavy fights. They aren't afraid of thugging it out on the site when it comes to a heavy defense. Only when it seems supremely unwinnable will they cause a rotate.
And even then, unwinnable for Blinn really isn't a terminology that they're used to, I'm sure. Here's that commitment. And once again, the one player on the site instantly downed.
There's a long-term lurk from Mira back on B. They actually secured the op in the meantime because Leaf thought it was going to be cleared, moved up a little bit, exposed themselves, and left themselves in a perfect position. And taking advantage of just another Blinn win. 9-0, Vincent. How can they be stopped?
At this point, I don't know that I necessarily see a way back in here. Because it's not like Blinn are winning on just, you know, we've seen games, right? Like, think about, honestly, any Northwood game this season, Los. That is a team that just kind of runs at their opponents when they don't have to be too serious. Blinn right now are playing an incredibly tactical game alongside winning those game duels. And, you know, we were memeing a little bit earlier about, you know, the aggression of this Jet and Shy just running and gunning. Well, it's working. It worked. Example A.
What?
And B and C.
I honestly don't even know what happened in that round, but I think that's just a theme of this match. If you're on a Grand Valley, they simply don't know what is happening, how to deal with the monster of Blinn that they are facing. It's either a oppressive force or simply amazing angles, amazing aim duels.
I can tell you what happened in the last round. It's a bit of Blinn buffoonery, though it is exactly what you just said. It's difficult to deal with the aim duels. That's a way to start dive.
3 in a row right there. You have to take it. Crippling Blinn. This has to be the moment where they find their success. You've got 3 players wrapped around from A main. They're trapped. Mira has no options to get out of this one, but they will have a quick flick onto dive, and this is the only option you got. Potentially run it down onto site, drop the ultimate, play it through there, but instead Mira decides, you know what? I'm gonna fight from every angle that is available. Oh my god, a phantom moment. A huge amount of damage onto Biscuit. She goes down. Here's the ultimate. Even when it seemed like a crazy moment for GVSU, Blinn turned it into their favor, but it's not over yet. Still a 1v3, but they are in the Viper's pit.
This would have to be a 1v6 clutch, actually, with the res. That would be incredible. One of the best plays we've seen all season of Mira clutches here. And it's absolutely doable.
It's all about the timing in this moment. Oh! It all came down to timing. We saw Mira looking right in that direction the moment that Arax walked into the smoke. That's when they weren't looking. And that would have been simply absurd. Blinsane, if you will. But GVSU will put their first on the board on round 11.
And, you know, as awesome as it is to see GVSU pick up a round, it's somewhat bittersweet in that it feels like it took everything, you know? Even after getting into the 1v5 situation, there was still a chance for Blinn to win. But you got to take those victories where you have them, as there have been few and far between for GVSU. Blinn back on the bye. And, well, they're going to have to recreate that miracle in that last round. GVSU won't find anything more.
I've got your track.
Dive beyond yellow and position revealed. Forced an escape. And that was a classic shy maneuver of running in first, asking questions later. And it's actually going to be a big pain. Dive and Biscuit holding it down by themselves. A beautiful effort to stop the plant. The classic Blinn play.
Last player standing.
There was no cove to give safety inside for the plant as well.
So, an adjustment made. And at least a round, most likely a second here gained. It'll be the same situation for Mira required. The full 1v5 clutch. Seems unlikely, but... And it will indeed fall by the wayside. So GVSU, they find two. That's all they can get. The Blinn attack side, it was seemingly unstoppable in many ways. Fortunate for them to be able to find the last two there. And honestly, it really started out with just a huge hero play from Dive. Talked about them as one of those players to watch early into this game. And then from there, an adjustment back over towards the B site where they could stack up that site and take the fights early.
Dive has been a critical component in those previous two victories. And I'm curious now that they won't be in the defensive position. How well are they going to be able to perform? I think it comes down to those lurks, but look at the position and take a peek at both Spaz and Shy. I'm deep on B main. Might be willing to have that flank. If the play is called, you might see them clear out garage and make an immediate move, but it's going to be an attack for GVSU onto A side. Mira forced away. Entire site is expected to be vacated with the entrance of GVSU, but that is not the case at all. No one is able to move beyond this toxic screen.
Well, it's a different Killjoy. It's Town delivering both of the openers in this round for the favor of Blinn. Just taking space, and here's that flank. And it's all over. Quick succession, Los. It's a flawless round, even. Down with 3 kills, and Blinn. Well, that's really going to force a hard, tough decision for GVSU, isn't it? Do you buy into this round and try and get a gun round up against 12-2? Or do you go for, or excuse me, do you save and try to get a gun round up against 12-2? Or do you buy, like it seems GVSU want to do, and attempt what would be a very difficult strategy, winning on an eco/force buy against Blinn?
Question remains, what is even possible for GVSU? They'll go for that buy. They don't want to allow a round 12 here. Not on Icebox. Dive! Certainly incredibly deep down mid, hoping for something beautiful, but Biscuit, she's going to add to that fact. 2 down for Blinn. And they haven't even made it their way onto any site proper until this very moment. Loof, beautiful headshot onto Mira. This is the biggest chance that they've had, I would say, the entire game.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, this could turn the tide, really affect the economy as well. And a real chance as well for Loof. But it goes by the wayside. 2v4. Here's the retake. And, oh, it's already Biscuit on the flank, applying the pressure.
Spectre in hand as well, if she wants to use it, but I don't think it's necessary. The Sheriff is certainly the tool of destruction. Alu with the Bulldog, closing it down. A great, tremendous victory here for Grand Valley. And it actually forces Blinn not to have a perfect economy going forward. I think they are going to be on the downturn if we see what they're working with in terms of credits.
It looks like they might be going for a force buy. At least 2 players have purchased something. I see a Bucky and a Stinger. Though there's some classics as well. It's a bit disjointed. 4 players here towards B. Oh, this is going to be fast.
Oh my, Loof is going to see all of that, but it's perfectly communicated so swiftly. And that is it. That's the round. It comes down one more time to Mira attempting a 1v5 clutch. Not even with a gun. They are the single player who did not purchase a weapon. So you're coming in with the best pistol of the game, best weapon of the game in general. The 1v5.
I mean, it did work for the first one. Though with 2 players coming in and 1 on the flank, yeah, that's just not going to be great. Mira will go down. Honestly, doing well just to get a single one there. GVSU, though, I mean, they've already got the same number of rounds that they did the entire series last time. So, I'd say this, whatever the extent to this comeback is, because in my mind, Blinn will eventually close this, most likely. Whatever the extent is, it's all good for the mental of GVSU.
So we're saying they're doing twice as good as the last, minimum twice as good as the last series. That's a good start, Vincent, I'd have to say.
And they're doing it in 1 map.
Teague here, about to just make a flex attempt, and that's what they did. Alu falls, and Teague retreats to safety. But in the meantime, there's been a beautiful shot from Dive down mid.
I mean, an even scenario, but they've just kind of been waiting out the orb here. As soon as this falls, there'll be an opportunity, some space to take for GVSU. Though there's 2 players here, and Harper's actually rotating in as well. This is some good calling as the B area has been cleared out. You see Shy pushed all the way up.
Lockdown put in place, but Teague, they make the move. They head forward, trying to destroy it. Eric's a perfectly placed pre-fire, so that won't be destroyed. In fact, it creates the majority of their chances to take this site. Mira wants to send out that snake bite, maybe.
Oh my goodness.
Run it up onto Arax. How? How is it allowed? The double vision denial completely removes any possibility of Biscuit and crew surviving. They had no capabilities of seeing what was going on the site proper. What coordination from Blinn.
Yeah, that is one of the things that is really quite scary about having that double controller, is that you can entirely cut the side in half with the high tide and the toxic strain. Both of those bits of utility making it possible for anybody playing more of a further back area angle to see anything. And I mean, Mira clearly knowing that, taking advantage and moving on from there. 12-4. The requirement is large for GVSU to come back here. They're going to need 8 in a row. No problem whatsoever. They can't make any mistakes.
Dive wants to take a bite out of that one. Wasn't baited out by the attempt to grab the orb, and Spaz falls. 2 quick picks here for GVSU. But they don't want to get hasty. It's actually taking their time. A loss of Dive on B, but a great victory in terms of removing Town on mid. Option staying open, but A certainly seems to be their best one.
Well, Mira, though, in a great spot.
Oh, so many opportunities. Unfortunately, unable to secure that shot. GVSU working like a perfect firing squad. Sticking together, ensuring trades, or even preventing them. Biscuit as well. Securing all the angles. Beautiful stuff from GVSU. It's very late into the game, but it is very much welcome.
Yeah, and we're seeing, you know, I described Blinn as a team that was playing very tactical early on into this game. And they were at that time. What I will say is that right now, they're playing a little bit less so. They're being a bit more aggressive. They're playing significantly more alone. For example, that duel, I mean, Spaz just kind of trying to bait out the orb. Didn't have anyone near enough to trade. I guess, to be fair, Shy eventually got there, but it was another 1v1 by that point. So there's some things to note that Blinn aren't being as good about taking the space together, but GVSU is taking advantage, and you got to give them props for that.
Certainly. And it seems that they are going to continue to press the advantage in terms of the lack of sync that we're seeing from Blinn College. The buy right here simply doesn't make any sense to me. It is beyond scattered if they will commit to that.
Yeah, it's all over the place. I mean, it's not like there's loss bonus either to fall back on. This is definitely very weird, but to be fair, it's only one player who has the sort of aggressive purchase. Everybody else, I mean, they're working with something at least.
Loof hoping to find a third, and Shy actually picks up a second with the judge. And that was simply an absurd placement. The fact that they were able to survive that long, kudos to them. Unfortunately, there's a resurrection, so their impact is halved.
Well, not the most effective spam in the world. The attempt with the Marshal. Mira does have the gun. Mira does not have their life, but had the gun. And yeah, that one going about as you would expect. Couple of kills gathered with the judge, but otherwise, this is going to be a difficult couple of rounds moving forward for GVSU, and I'll explain why. If you look up at the top, Blinn have farmed all of their ultimates, and they have the buy this round as well. Sans Mira, who is now working with a judge, but could put down a Viper's Pit, and then the judge is fantastic.
It seems that it's all been creeping up to this point. I'm not going to confidently say that's what the plan was, to wait until it was a full stack of ultimates, but with the big swap of tactical play that we're seeing from Blinn, now back into action with all these ultimates, or now back with a possibility with all these ultimates, with a buy that makes sense, with a team that is actually sticking together. I'm not exactly sure what the plan was up until this point, if not that.
Oh, the pit inside the pit! The double pit play! Los, this is a rare one. We rarely see this.
This is not a good situation for anybody involved. Mira jumps down, gets got immediately. But now we've got the use of the lockdown, and it's a forced exit.
Oh,
everyone
goodness.
has to leave. Even a reckoning is being put into place. The lockdown was destroyed. They utilized that Hunter's Fury. Unfortunately, the Viper's Pit doesn't extend to the spike itself. Shy has to jump inside the pit. Town is making their entry as well. And they halved it. Nobody even knows what's going on top of the spike. The Harbor High Tide blocked it off. There was just so much going on, Vincent. So much utility, and I think that's the name of the game of Blinn's composition. Deny information all dang day.
That's absolutely the plan, and we saw it work out many a time. Ultimately, a 13-6 scoreline, probably a little bit better than my expectations were based on the last time we saw these two teams. With that being said, that first half, it was a masterclass on, if you're going to be playing that Harbor composition, how to do it, some little tips and tricks. I mean, seriously, some cool stuff being done. And, you know, we've seen other teams kind of experiment with the Harbor there, as you alluded to. But in the collegiate space, I don't feel like we've seen that a ton. I certainly haven't, though we haven't gotten the privilege to see many teams as good as Blinn as of recently.
And you know, that's kind of the main trick about this Viper Harbor composition. You don't get to see much of anything. They block out that information, and it's beautiful stuff. As a personal Harbor enjoyer, I might be trying some of these out the next time I hop on the server, so it's enjoyable to see the experimentation, 1, of the map, 2, of the composition, and also the expansion of GVSU's skills. Unfortunately, it wasn't going to win them the map, but it certainly has won them some confidence going into Haven, which we're going to see in just a few moments. So don't go anywhere. The A-Star League returns after a quick break. Hey, welcome back to A-Star League. It's map 2 of Blinn College versus Grand Valley State University. Blinn doing what we expected. Took their map 13 to 5. Not bad at all, or 13-6, sorry. And not bad at all. Honestly, GVSU giving us a much better performance than what we saw in their previous series with Blinn, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the improvement that we had from them. But now we're going to Haven. This is where I know personally, you see Teague on that breach, you are in for a treat.
Most certainly, and if Biscuit locks in and Shy locks a Jet, then we're going to be seeing the exact same two compositions that we saw in that 13-2 just shellacking on this map that Blinn was able to put forth in week 5 against GVSU. That is, of course, if Shy locks in a Jet. Regardless, it's looking like GVSU feel like that the adjustments that they've made, that they've been able to take those and pull them together into hopefully a victory here, because if it's going to be anything like the last time, well, Blinn are just going to be walking straight into playoffs, and it'll be hello LCQ or the likes of this GVSU squad. All that being said, Los, I do think that it's really difficult to beat the same team twice if you're not significantly better than them in the same season. It can be very tough, because what happens is, especially if you win dominantly, is you give away all your strategies and they counter-strat you.
That's what I'm saying, Vincent. Sometimes it's better to lose.
It was all a plan. It was all leading to this. Hey, listen, if GVSU somehow figure a way to take this entire series, I will absolutely be calling the loss in week 5 calculated. And no one will be able to convince me otherwise. I'll be insufferable, Los.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, you know what the strats are going to be. Can you come up with a whole list of brand new strats within 4 weeks? I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if you can pull that off, Vincent, because that is going to take so much work for one single map, too. Yeah.
True.
You just counter-strat the heck out of them, and maybe that could be a possibility. I don't know, but it all comes down to some serious aim situations. What we saw back on Icebox, it was a plethora of victories in that manner when we're talking Blinn. We're talking Shy, who was taking fights. They had absolutely no right winning, no right dashing into the cloudburst or beyond that high tide to somehow find shots. Maybe it just comes from the sheer gung-ho vision that comes behind them. The fact that they're going to go in, I'm here, well, you're going to have to deal with it, and it just catches Grand Valley by surprise.
It certainly did. And, you know, the thing about that is that GVSU, I think they deserve a lot of props for being able to adjust as much as they did on Icebox. But, man, it's tough. When you're getting stuffed, like, you're just inside a box, man. And it's just, that box is hard to get out of. It's very, very difficult to make adjustments when you're getting rolled like that. And in the first half, that was the case. It was 8-0. I mean, like, I understand, you know, at the end of the half and then into the second half, GVSU, they were doing a valiant job of a little bit of a last stand, picking up a few extra rounds. But at the beginning, Los, it was one-sided, and it was not looking like there was any chance. So, props to them for doing that. Of course, it's hard, even harder, I would say, to do that twice, and that's what they're going to have to do here. But like you've been talking about, maybe they've been in the lab. They've been cooking up strategies for the last 4 weeks. It's been just wonderful smells from all the cooking wafting from the GVSU esports lab.
I'm sure that smell is something we'd all enjoy. The VOD dungeon, you know, that's an important place to be. We'll see if that actually has provided the fruits of their labor once we jump into the server. It's gonna be a mirror matchup, classic stuff here on Haven. You know, not exactly any need for deviation. Maybe you'd go with a fade, potentially a raise if you want to get tricky with it, but I think that's honestly fallen out of vogue, really, and you just gotta stick with the classics.
I'm right there with you. I tend to agree. And as I mentioned, this is going to be an exact mirror composition of what we saw in the first matchup on Haven between these two teams. That one ending in a 13-2 for Blinn. GVSU, they picked it. I also wanted to note, by the way, Los, Blinn picked Haven last time, and now GVSU are picking Haven this time.
Counter strat. Gotta be.
I'm just saying. It may be that this is a 13-2, but there's any time that this is set up just to be the counter strat of the century, it's here and now.
This is a psyop, Vincent, not only because they've counter-stratted, but they're picking their opponent's map pick. It's like, oh, yeah, you might have got us really good on that map. Why don't you try it again? Try it again. See, we even picked it for you.
We'll let you have your map. It's all good, all good. We're going to have to see GVSU as they move on towards this. They do have to start the attack side, which at least... Maybe you can give me your thoughts, but I feel like for the counter-stratting is not as ideal for Haven. Like, you got to be, like, locked in to have the attack counter-strat.
Well, I think you got to keep those counter-strats in your back pocket. It all comes out to the confidence. If they could establish some dominance here in the early rounds, that may be a beautiful beginning. Unfortunately, this beginning is starting off with two wonderful headshots from Mira.
Yeah. Mira often left alone in that last map. Not alone this time. And I guess headshots come in pairs for Mira as well. With that said, Dive still has some space, but it's a re-aggress over towards the A side. But they're not alone.
Oh, Shy, no way! Sticking around, they're good for one. Fortunately, plant still goes through. And Biscuit is here in the 1v2. Teague is the biggest threat in this moment because you've got a ton of damage on Tamira. One literally anywhere is going to be enough. Biscuit realizes she's got to go. She doesn't need to take this fight. Probably not any flashpoints left. Unfortunately, Teague on the frenzy. They get it done. Such a close beginning. A great opportunity for a start for GVSU, but Teague is a clutch demon, especially here on Haven on the Breach.
No doubt. And, you know, valiant effort, to be fair, just across the board from Biscuit. I mean, she really did almost everything that you could have done there, but unfortunately 1v3 just a little bit too tough an ask. And GVSU, strategy-wise on that pistol round, a good adjustment. I liked that they went back towards the A site, and I even liked that they had Dive stick around. I would have preferred Dive making a bit more noise to keep more rotates there, but all things considered, not a bad look.
Nice stun down. He's short. And, oh, wow. Strong placement from that dark cover because it's going to block off everyone who wants to enter. Maybe provide some support to take down Shy. But Shy just gets a 3B.
Or 3B?
It's a free 3B.
Oh.
I came up with it right now.
I like it. I'm down.
Oh yeah, this is a troll. It's just giving the ace to Shy. I'm not impressed anymore.
Is that not a phrase?
A phrase?
Free ace? I thought we were. I feel like that's the logical conclusion, no?
I think so, yeah. I think that has to be the case. So round 2 enter the phrase for Shy.
We're gonna make it a thing. Don't worry that it sounds a little weird. It's fine.
You know, the best way to make sure something catches on is by saying it'll catch on.
I think that's how it works. I'm not a social media guru though. Bladestorm, where's that at? Up long, it looks like. Shy. I guess to be fair, a free ace in the last round does equal a Bladestorm.
Certainly. Pass off the bulldog to a friend. I don't know if anyone even died last round. I think maybe possibly one. I can't even remember. It was just overshadowed by the phrase.
It was indeed. Did push all the way aggressively long there, did Shy. Walked into an alarm bot, and so then had to fall back off the back of that. And you can see the killjoy for the attack of GVSU still locked and loaded on that angle.
I am unsure of how that first kill was even secured. It must have been a spam through the smoke. No, one player was hiding right beneath garage. Beautiful placement of the flashpoint to be able to walk in and clear those angles and even find a second one as the attempt to exit from the dark cover is simply met with failure. I think that's how a lot of these frags, at least with the second round, it was often an attempt to make a trade, but a failed one.
30
Yeah,
seconds
I mean, sometimes that's the way it goes, and it's just a line of failed trade attempts. Paranoia out. There's so many players here.
Max sitting in the corner. Oh, expecting that to go a lot differently. Dive Biscuit here to put in the pain. Unfortunately, neither of them can outlast the numbers game that's being set up by Blinn, and there was that flank from Shy in the back line. So even if they were able to make that one a fact, a successful hit, they'd still have a lot more trouble to deal with.
Well, back to the pistols for GVSU. This is unfortunately pretty much a mirror of what we saw in map number 1 on the opening 3 rounds. A good start on the pistol for Blinn, though a very close one in this case. Then GVSU couldn't quite convert anything on the anti-eco nor the first gun round. So, and we talk about that a lot, Los, converting the bonus. Blinn's now 2 for 2.
That's such a big opportunity for them. Dive not having a big moment. They're stuck inside of sight. Right around the corner for an attempt to get a kill on Lincoln. They'll do just that. Unfortunately, they've been left alone. It's 1v2. They've got some rifle potential. But in the end, the flank from Shy will reign supreme. A nice look, though, considering they were all running on sheriffs.
That's true. I mean, and Mira did, or excuse me, Dive, it was that did a good job of making sure to get some kills in that round. Was patient in towards C Link and ultimately turned around, found the player on site, and picked up a gun, get another one as well. Still, 4-0 is the score line, and it's another full buy round here. Vandals across the board for the attack. So we see what they are electing to do from the shadows. And a lockdown to boot, but there's a Hunter's Fury for that lockdown just in case.
I'm expecting that to be a much more successful and accurate fault line. It is, in fact, not. Alu with a big double. Teague wants some of the action, and they'll equalize it and take even more in an instant.
You know, I gotta wonder.
Last player standing.
I was gonna say, I gotta wonder if GVSU had planned that positioning, you know, but I don't think so. I think a little fortunate. 5-0. The end there for Teague as well. 4 kills in the round. That is sublime. Beautiful work. It kind of feels like everybody's just having their chance, their opportunity to pop off right now for Blinn.
Teague is nuts, man. 2 kills from short, wraps around to long, and gets 2 kills from that angle as well.
It's like, hey, you remember me? Yeah, I'll have more.
Teague is a selfish gamer. That's what we found out.
I think just a massive fragger is the way I would describe it.
Better spin on it, I think, yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit. Okay.
Here's that rolling thunder, and guess who's here to party? It's Shy. Not expecting that second angle. Arix and Alu. Big moment for them to overcome and not succumb to that rolling thunder and the following rotation. And now we've got an issue. It's down. He's got eyes on Spike. He's got eyes on Arix. Now this is a major problem. Luf and Alu hit with the fault line, hit with the paranoia. They gotta escape. Alu with a big swing. And this is all to escape into their own spawn. Mira right around the corner through window hall. And it's just too much pressure. So great. A start for GVSU, but it's slapped down as the round continues.
It's so swift, Blinn, and their decision-making, how they were able to collapse upon GVSU. As soon as they saw just a little bit of an opening, a little bit of an idea, they go. And they go to the maximum extent they can in order to find that advantage and push it over the line. Nothing to be done for GVSU. At least they have 4 ultimates, but they have no guns. Sort of a problem, I guess you could say. Particularly when the Blade Storm would maybe be the type of ult you would want this round, but maybe they can do it with pistols?
No.
Bold.
No, that's cap. It's entirely possible. It's entirely possible because Biscuit has proven to us that she's capable of taking these fights, especially with the Sheriff. And now that space has been secured on site, Plant is in play. Rolling Thunder, Hunter's Fury, they're options that are available to GVSU. They could make this happen.
It's a true story. A lot of post-plant utility, as you just mentioned, so it's just about dealing with the paranoia and everything else.
What a beautiful read from Eric's. They had to realize someone TP'd. It was Town. They were ensuring no one was walking through or jumping out of that location. Biscuit has to be smart. Unfortunately, it was the right call. Mira just had the better firepower and the quicker snap. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I don't like that, but hey, there was enough time.
Yeah, it was fully calculated. They knew the whole time, Lewis. They had a timer. They knew. You know, I'm usually I can be somewhat critical of over-investing ultimates in rounds like that. But when you are in a situation where you are in an eco round and you have a man advantage, I think GVSU needed to play more passive there. I think they needed to put their Rolling Thunder and Hunter's Fury in a position to play post-plant. Instead, they were both committed to the site. And, I mean, you could argue they didn't have a lot of time to reposition, but still, one of the best chances they've had to win a round, and unfortunately, I think it's a bit wasted by them not being willing to play aggressive with their ultimates.
Oh, unfortunate stuff. Already starting. Already ending this round's potential. It'll be a continuation of players sending it. It's up to Dive, the lurker, making an attempt from the back line. I mean, this may not be bad, but it's certainly caught out by T.
Yeah, that was Mira vibes from the last of the first half on Icebox, to be honest, 1v5. Just trying to do some miracles where none existed. So, GVSU now, for the 3rd round in a row, sitting on a full bank of ultimates. Or at least near full. They need to have, like, there just needs to be a plan. And you know what, Los? We haven't seen a timeout taken this map.
Interesting. I wonder what the reasoning behind the lack of influence from the coach or any ideas coming through. It feels that I'm imagining this team feels that they're on the cusp of a victory, and they've been on that cusp for many, many moments. Oh my God, was that the Odin?
Yeah, it was.
Wow, that is so simply frustrating, to put it at the very lightest. Now, Spaz and everyone will unload their ultimates because why the heck not, Vincent?
Yeah, I mean, they're there to be used. Why not use them? Another Odin kill. Mira, stop. It's just not allowed. Mira with 3 on the Odin is super awesome to see. And, I mean, even the Blade Storm invested on the Blinn side at the back end of that round seems... I'd consider it a little unnecessary, but you know what? All is well that ends well. That can't be said for GVSU. They invested 3 of their 5 ultimates, and I'd say they invested the 3 biggest ones.
Hold on, quick prediction right here. Will we see B-Windows spam? No, not on the Odins. I thought, considering there were 4 Odins on the lineup, on the buy there, that we were entering into buffoonery territory. I mean, we're still in there. We're still in there with 3 Odin purchases, but not as bad as I expected it to be. Utility destroyed to enter onto B site. You've got Teague on A link. Waiting for anyone to walk on through. think they avoided the fault line, or maybe not, but Eric
No, they
walked
didn't.
in and still found the shot point blank. Guardian Guru to earn the kill and the plant.
Biscuit used it from the shadows to get up towards heaven. One adjustment being made here in the lockdown as well. Gonna force so many of these fights.
This is simply absurd with the usage of this Odin. How will it continue?
Last player standing.
Well, it'll be
Oh,
this
man.
way from Grass. Oh, a taste of their own medicine, Vincent. Dive with 2 on the Odin herself or themselves.
Indeed, they sort of walked in with the Odins and thought, you know, surely this doesn't go wrong. And then they gave over an Odin to dive, an instant regret on the faces of Blinn, I'm sure. Are they doing the five Odins? They are doing the 5 Odins. Blinn is trolling with a capital T right now, and I'm here for it. I am absolutely here for it. Give me more.
The Blinn buffoons. Goodbye, Buccaneer. What is this crosshair?
Wait, oh no, this is a crosshair?
What is this?
It's me.
We are being trolled. I love it. Unfortunately,
Oh my goodness. That was a GVSU player, brother. It was Dive.
that wasn't. Yeah, that wasn't even Blinn. I can't believe it. Not from them. Not from Grand Valley.
Oh no. That's such a good Rolling Thunder, but it was the insta paranoia. Makes it difficult to follow up. Eric's at least gets one, though, to be fair. That's now denied.
Oh my god, are you kidding me? This better not be a victory for Town! No! This is ridiculous. The Odin Omega Brain plays have come through. Unfortunately, well, I would say fortunately, there's not enough money to replay that scenario.
I don't know. There's a lot of money. There's a lot of money, and it looks like we're gonna get the -1 because Mira's the only one who can't afford it. And
Nope, we got it.
They got dry. I thought there was enough.
I hate this.
I love this. Give it to me. I want more. Los, what's happened here? What happened to you? Normally, I'm the overly serious one.
What is this? Teague with 2. Shy with another on mid. It's a mid massacre. Dive doesn't even know what to do. Sitting around with the judge.
I mean, what do you do? There's just a hailstorm of bullets everywhere. A hellacious proposition for Dive to walk through these double doors, man. It feels like you're walking into insta death.
That's usually the case against a team of this caliber. Shy's done sitting around. Is that a rolling thunder? Oh my god, Dive's able to take 2 kills.
I'm pretty sure that Rolling Thunder allowed Dive to get those kills.
Last player standing.
That absolutely was the case. A trolling thunder hit exclusively Blinn players.
You know, Teague giveth and Teague taketh away. That's how that works, I think.
Yeah, what is that? The Book of Blinn 13.5?
Something, yeah, 13.6 actually, but you know. Oh man, 11-1. You know, I had faith in GVSU. I did. Unfortunately, it's all expired now.
Yeah, that kind of just takes the wind out of the sails, right? That kind of destroys any positive thinking. But this is a true mental battle right now for GVSU. 4 sheriffs on deck, looking to make it happen. Literally nobody on C-site, though.
Yeah, actually 0 people. It's a ghost town of sorts. We'll see exactly where this leads. Maybe Blinn can go prospecting, a little ghost hunting, you could say. That's because GVSU are going to be dead right after this.
Maybe not. Harax with a kill. Loof as well.
Ooh.
Adding extra bit of pain. Unfortunately, the classic.
Last player
Simply a beautiful weapon. But the pinch is here. Every single angle was acted upon by GVSU. And perhaps that initial setup that they had of a majority of players in the line of Link, Garage, and Grass worked in their advantage.
Yeah, it certainly did. I mean, a great retake, good adjustments being made. I'll add some context to that Blinn were doing a little bit of over-aggressing themselves. You know, running it down into spawn isn't usually the best course of action, but, you know, they did go for it. It just didn't work.
Don't you hate when that happens?
Yeah, I mean, I give it a try pretty often, and yeah, for some reason, I exclusively lose.
You know, I think we're all winning with this match. Arax puts in some shots, but it will be ultimately a death that they're walking into. But Teague in Town in a lot of trouble. Teague already removed Town, just about 2 HP. About.
enemy remaining.
It's a beautiful cleanup. Spike in hand. Spaz, a respectable player. Though I don't think this situation is going to be one they can fight their way out.
What was that swarm grenade from Dive? Tossed a swarm grenade from mid over towards C long, and it landed like right in the middle of where the orb was. That's ridiculous. I don't know what the purpose of that was, but it was instantly utilized. Very funny indeed. Well, that was the save round. Blinn now have the big boy guns. So, that's a bit scary. We'll see what they can do with said large weapons.
Oh, we haven't gotten to the large weapons yet, Vincent.
Yeah, you're right. We had those last half.
These are some medium rifles at the moment. Town and opener onto mid. That is going to be quick succession. Dashing onto site. Shy, hoping for something. Well, at least they gave information to the team, and Spaz will pick up 2. Aftershock denies any close form of play into B. Loof, however, in the back of sight, explodes 2. And Blinn, they have to make a quick retreat. They're unsure of where to head next.
Yeah, a little bit of a question mark. At least it seemed from the posturing there. Okay, Town actually walking, so Loof didn't necessarily hear this, though they're going in the right direction, so maybe they did hear an audio cue that this would be an A-site attack. Mira will put the spike in the ground, and it's time for the 2-on-2 to commence.
Last player standing.
Oh, Mira taking that fight and losing it handily. Loof stepping up. A 4K for them. A beautiful performance. And it seemed like a powerful entrance onto B site from Blinn, but it was dealt with ease simply by the Jets' play.
Yeah, I mean, respect for Loof in that round especially. When you talk about the time to step up, that was it, right? That was the buy round. That was the critical moment where GVSU, a loss, would have put them down economically, and Blinn would have had 12 on the board. All of those things are true. That said, we're going to have to continue to see more. It's still 11-4. And we got a buy that you and I are very, very fond of. We have fond memories of, I should say. The old 5 Stinger purchase.
A 5 Stinger Dinger Ringer. Well, it's gotten onto site and hasn't secured any kills. Loof in the back on platform has been realized, has been called out. A kill onto them. Unfortunately, it's a lot more going in favor of Grand Valley. And they lose some rifles, sure, but they win the round, and that's what's going to matter every time at the end of the day.
Yeah, long story short, they handle that well. GVSU do. Eric's has recovered that Odin and has never, ever stepped away from it. He was the first to grab it when GVSU were able to recover 1 or 2 of those things. And now it's just been it's been a consistent factor here in the last couple of rounds, or it's just been brought back in, but you get the point.
Just feels good in his hands. Oh, dive hit with a fault line and tagged out by the dart. Their leave to duty instantaneously. The only one holding that site, but it's going to be a rolling thunder right onto A. Loof, I believe, was on the other side, not able to bring in some defense. It was Alu, actually, who got hit by it, but the recovery is good. Beyond the box, they took down 2, but now it does come down to Loof. They have an op in hand. The spike isn't planted, though. They can isolate a fight while the plant is taking place. Maybe that would be the moment of success, but in the end, it will be map and series point for Blinn.
And a great off angle from Town. I don't know if they were expecting an operator, but that off angle makes it so difficult to walk back in to that site. Shy with the Blade Storm, that is going to be used based on the shorty secondary. Everybody else will be on the buy. Loof the only one with money. Unfortunately, their blades are not ready to go, and they were used just moments ago. We are potentially looking at the last round if things go well for Blinn. Otherwise, EVSU going to need to stand tall.
Loof in some trouble now with that rolling thunder as Shy leaps into the back of sight on the platform. That is where they need to be. The Blade Storm, right click onto Loof. That is it. That will seal the deal. It's up to Dive to save the day, but it's another ace. What a phenomenal performance in the very end by Blinn. Shy's just great on those blades. Not to say it was a frace once again, but certainly a sharp closer out of those blade storms.
Yeah, I mean, there is sort of a different look to just a very good player with the Blade Storm and one that's like not quite as comfortable, and it makes such a huge difference being able to have that comfortability. But it was comfortability for Blinn across the board. Everybody was delivering. Nobody really was underperforming in any way. And honestly, I mean, Grand Valley State, I think that they can be at least somewhat happy with the improvement of their performance. I feel like they were quite competitive in a lot of these rounds. Unfortunately, the clutch factor of Blinn was still there, and overall, they were the better team.
That's what it is at the end of the day. Blinn certainly living up to their top 5 ranking here in the North American Collegiate region. So, a much better performance from Grand Valley. Unfortunately, still not up to snuff if they wanted to make it straight into the playoffs, but their journey isn't over yet. They're headed to the LCQ to maybe make their way for a run to the playoffs. Blinn, a clean sweep to make their way into the postseason, so congratulations to them. We'll be able to talk to one of the players in just a few moments, so don't go anywhere, folks. Naystar League will return in just a few. Hey, welcome back to Nace Star League. We wrapped up Series 1 of tonight with Blinn taking a very convincing 2-0 victory against Grand Valley. And joining us from Blinn, we have Spaz. Spaz, what is going on? Congratulations on the victory. Looking solid. How are you feeling, or how are your expectations going into this best of 3, considering you already faced Grand Valley earlier in the season?
We were kind of expecting it to go the same way that I went before. We kind of just swapped them. Not to be like toxic anyway, but we weren't expecting it to be too much of a challenge, really.
So I have to ask then, kind of looking forward into playoffs, what are the challenges that you guys are expecting to face? There's some very good teams that are already kind of towards the playoffs that are getting confirmed as we speak, and later on tonight. What are the teams that do kind of worry you a little bit?
Could you list those teams actually? Because I'm not too sure. I haven't really looked into
for example, we're gonna see Oklahoma Christian coming up later. I mean, they've been really good. Obviously, Northwood is in the mix there as well. I mean, a bunch of teams as well beyond that, but those just are a couple. Any that you've seen before that you expect to see again?
Honestly, the two you just listed are probably the only ones I can really think of off the top of my head that we've like previously struggled with. We haven't really faced Northwood a lot though, but OC, I'm definitely excited to play them again for sure, because I feel like we got scammed a little the last time we played them in CVAL.
Yeah, because that was a 3-1 to them, right?
It was 2-0. We only played them once.
Oh, I was thinking the finals. Okay. Well, and then in addition to that, I want to bring it back to this matchup specifically. Let's talk about the end of a Haven right there, because I was enjoying the number of Odins I was seeing. I want to know, is that a normal strategy, or is that a special one for GVSU?
Honestly, our Jet kind of brought up the momentum there and threw in the idea to use our Odins because they were kind of just like sitting around really, and we just spammed the walls. So honestly, I think it was a good strat. So yeah, it was a strategy like specifically made for them.
Hey, sometimes you gotta tailor those different strategies to different teams, but I'm gonna talk about a serious strategy now. The pick of Harbor on Icebox, I definitely enjoyed it. We've seen it very briefly in lock-in, but it's not a very common pick. Can you talk to me about why y'all brought that into the mix? I personally enjoyed it, but I want to know the thought process behind it.
Well, we tended to use it because we felt that it suited our playstyle quite a bit because, like, I know this has like been a talking point with like other interviews that I've done for how we like our team has like 3 smokes players, so it works out really well how we're able to put in 2 smokes, and then we just with our new addition of our jet player Bruce Shy, he kind of just runs them down, and that's kind of the focal point of that strat, just like how we copied from Loud, and that was kind of the focal point of their strat. They just let their jet run it down while everyone else supports them.
Sounds good. I mean, it secured your spot into playoffs. Well, thank you so much, Bands. Congratulations on the victory, and we'll see you soon enough.
All right. Thank you.
That's going to wrap up Series 1. We have another heater, Oklahoma Christian University versus Irvine Valley. It's going to be a banger. Don't go anywhere. Nate Starlake returns for Series number 2 right after this. Hey, welcome back to the Nay Star League. Didn't you miss us? It's time for our second best of 3 of the night. It's Oklahoma. They are such a dominant team. Oklahoma Christian University, 6-1, going up against Irvine Valley College, 6-1. But don't let the records fool you. One team is a little bit stronger than the other, Vincent.
Yeah, this Oklahoma Christian University team has come out to play this season. In CVAL South Winter, they were taking names and numbers. Players that we've seen all over the place. They 2-0'd Blinn, who we just got to see, just talked about them as a stalwart top 5 team in the entire world. Then 2-0 against UH Premier. Then 2-0 against UST, another top 5 team in the CVAL Power Rankings. This is a ridiculous squad, and it's been off the back of a lot of great work from Instinct especially. That's the guy that you're going to want to watch on the Oklahoma Christian University side of this one, no doubt.
Fantastic stuff. I just can't wait to see what this team is able to bring to the table. You know, I've actually seen a decent amount of Irvine Valley College in my experience, but it's actually, this is gonna be a brand new moment for me. A first, Vincent, my first ever look at Oklahoma. So I'm excited. I think we're all in for a treat to see what we're going to bring to the table, what they can bring to the table as one of the top schools in the region. But let's take a look down on our map list. It's going to be Haven, Icebox, and Ascent. A little bit of a little flip on our previous series, but if we get to Ascent, hey, a new one in the mix. Why not?
Yeah, though I think getting to Ascent, that's going to be the hard part here for IVC. Like you said, you and I have gotten to know this Irvine Valley College squad over the last few weeks here at NACE and elsewhere. They're a good team. I mean, I think when we actually casted them in week 1 against Kansas State, our whole conversation was, you know, Kansas State a good team, but Irvine Valley College, you got a good program, and they dominated that game back in week 1. Really surprised us. 13-4, 13-5 was the scoreline against Kansas State. And from then on, they've only taken 1 loss, and that's got to be an incredibly impressive showing. With that being said, OC is a bit of a different beast. They truly are. And it's going to be tough. Though, you know what does give me confidence, Los? The fact that they beat Boise State prior to this.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a big deal. Boise State, certainly a powerhouse of an esports institution, not just in Valorant, across all of the collegiate esports space. So that's a big win. That's a big victory. It's a big confidence injector into their veins. They are looking to be a team just like our previous underdogs of GVSU. They want to make their way into the playoffs. They don't want to go to the LCQ, and they've improved week after week, game after game, scrim after scrim, VOD after VOD, and I think with all this combined, they are set to certainly give OC a run for their money. Not going to be an easy target.
That said, last time these two teams met, that was all the way back in the very first game of the season. Interestingly enough, it was a 2-0 for OC. 13-4, 13-6 was the scoreline then. That's the only loss for the IVC squad. On the other hand, it was actually a forfeit. To be fair, it looks like neither team showed up, but Wichita State taking the win somehow in the forfeit. So whatever happened there, that's the only loss that OC actually have on the season. So their only loss being a forfeit means that they have not played a game that they haven't won. That's certainly impressive.
I mean, you know, it may have caused definitely some confusion when we first showed that 6-1 scoreline. You'd think, if they're a top team in the nation, who is going to be strong enough to beat them? Well, turns out attendance is going to be the main counter to the record there.
You know, that seems to be a common thread here in our collegiate matchup sometimes. Attendance, they take on everyone.
And you know what? They're undefeated, and that's a difficult one, right?
Indeed it is. But all of that context just to set up the gauntlet that is this entire matchup. Remember, we talked about it again and again. I'm going to remind everybody that IVC, LCQ on the cards if they don't win here tonight. OC going to want to move straight into the playoffs themselves and would not be wanting to take that LCQ route either. And that's what we are playing for here and now. Second and third place, they got to go through LCQ if they want to get into the playoffs themselves. First place gets straight through. So all that to say, Irvine Valley College, a good squad led by their in-game leader Volk, and a really solid lineup. I feel like, generally speaking, I feel like they've evolved over the course of time between last season, this season, and now. They've definitely had some serious improvements, and the fact that they're now undefeated or rather just taking 1 loss in a group that has the likes of Wichita and Boise, I mean, that's a good group overall.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give it up. This is a pretty stacked situation where you could honestly cut your teeth. And I think we talked about it before, where if you're playing against the better squads, you're going to get better. But I mean, this is a team that actually came up on top against those stronger teams, the stronger situations. Iron sharpens iron, and maybe Radiant will sharpen Radiant. I don't know. I went for it, Vincent.
You know, I'm sure Radiant is a very, very tough metallic substance, if it is indeed that, or maybe not. I don't know. Is there lore with regard to Radiant? Like is that a thing?
Dude, you know, the thing is that Valorant is such a fun game. There's like the pieces that lore could be here, but Riot has just decided, we're not gonna tell them. It's kind of like League of Legends. But actually, they started out with great lore. You could read it. Valorant, you have to go digging throughout the training grounds to find it. Maybe an email.
I have an idea, Los. You know how they did Arcane for League, and that was fantastic?
Yeah.
We just need that, but for Valorant. I'd watch the hell out of that. Give me like a Valorant anime.
I think that would be pretty sweet, but the issue is like, people die pretty quickly, right?
I mean, yeah, but think about it. Like, it's like Justice League, but Valorant. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. Listen, right? You can hire me anytime. I got all kinds of ideas, just like this idea that we might be headed to a short break. We're going to take a second, get things prepared, as we're not quite ready to go yet. We'll be back to you with the game in just a moment.
Oh, hey, we're back. Welcome to Haven. You guys didn't, miss this one for too long, did it?
Yeah, I seem to recall this being here sometime recently, but I just can't quite put my finger on it. Either way, I guess I'll probably figure that out sometime down the line. One thing that I do know is that I am seeing a different player for IVC than I expected. I'm seeing Sudachi in, and I'm trying to look at who would be missing here. It's Danny? Yeah, Danny missing from the roster. Don't know if Danny just changed her name or if that's actually a different player, but that immediately sparks a question mark for me, Los, as we get some lock-ins. This is the old school comp, Los, for IVC. They've gone back to the Fade race.
Yeah, it had its moment. It had its time to shine in the meta. I honestly think that there are simply better ways to circumvent this. In the whole situation of that C's paint shells, it's kind of been read. It's kind of played out. I think there's a lot more versatility in terms of information gathering when it comes to the Sova arrows, because there is a multitude of different angles and lineups that can be used to catch your opponents off guard. But when it comes to that haunt, kind of easy to figure out where that's going to land.
Yeah, a little bit. And what's really interesting? Back in week 1, when they played Haven against Kansas State, they actually played the, I'll say, more standard comp that we've been seeing now. The one that is being run by OC with the, Breach still in, yes, but without Fade and without the Rays, instead going for the Jet. So, some adjustments being made for them, and that is certainly interesting, but I don't want to knock it before we see it, because whilst I tend to agree with you about how it's been a little bit done and it's kind of easy to deal with it at this point, well, maybe they've got a new look at an old strategy.
Teaching old dog new tricks, perhaps. I would like to see it. And it's nice to have a break away from the consistent meta that we're going to have of the Killjoy, Sova, Omen, Jet, Breach. Of course, it's good. It works so well. But hey, let's take a break from it. Maybe this could be a return from the previous departure of the meta composition. Time to find out, at least with manipulation of these paint shells, potentially by Bola, to start things off.
Indeed. An approach towards the B site. Been pretty typical on a lot of these pistol rounds to go this direction. It's usually B or C. But that approach stalled for the time being. The utility, the dark covers go down, and that's enough to pull a rotation away from that and in towards the garage. But it's all a bit of planning. Posturing, if you will, for Irvine Valley College. Start will be stalled as we pass the 1 minute mark. Los, this is a very slow approach, and I do think that I like that.
It's good to try and stall out your opponents, have them second guess where they're going to be. But unfortunately, at this point, it simply allows more dark covers to be recovered, essentially, for this next take, because once the information is gained, potentially one sent, it's the paranoia initially sent down C long, but that's not where the real pressure is coming from. It starts with Volk out from garage, might be able to take down 2, but no, the overwhelming force that is here on C will be enough. 4v2 for this retake.
Oh, that's a solid beginning to that pistol round for Irvine Valley College. Entry and company left by their lonesome and 4 players to find, but the HP Los, it's quite low for 3 of them.
Beautiful flashpoint. Unfortunately, that doesn't hit Bola. They don't give a darn a hoot or a toot. 76 HP left after being lightly kissed by the paint shells. With all of this force here, all this pressure, Entry has a mountain to climb in terms of winning out this 1v3. Well, that's a good start, I suppose.
They gotta stick it, though. At this late juncture, it'll be Sudachi to stop the bleeding. And Irvine Valley College to pick up the pistol round. It was a slow, methodical approach to that C site. Started towards B, and they gave it a lot of thought. But it ultimately works out to the success of IVC. So, the beginnings of what could be a pretty solid game. Reminder, this is OC's pick. They're on Haven. So, and, well, what a way to start out your opponent's map pick.
Fall line, just a curious one at that. No one's going to take a fight off of it. Another situation where IVC, they're not too eager to jump into the fray, not too eager to get things started, because they have the upper hand. They've got the weapons. They don't want to walk into a classic right click from Eli, certainly not here in a garage.
That would be a deadly mistake to make. And Eli gonna poke his head out, then see the death that awaits him and fall back. An adjustment being made for both teams, actually. One over towards A on the defense, and it's actually a good decision for IVC. They're walking up to C long, and they're going to catch the only one player here.
Well, just information off that. Paint Shell knows no one's by platform, and they would have seen someone scurrying about. However, time has been taken, and it's allowed for a rotation. Instinct is on the way. Blast Pack onto the box, but not much to do. Eli, however, with the classic, is making some plays as well as Instinct. They're holding their own.
One enemy remaining.
Good look. A good reality is OC. The 3-on-1 is just Volk, the in-game leader, and he can't do a darn thing. Thrifty round. And it all goes so fast and ultimately so bad for IVC. That was a round that really shouldn't have been anywhere close to possible. If you looked at the investment for Oklahoma, they had barely anything.
No, that was a classic conundrum, Vincent. The fact that OC was able to take that one is a huge damage imparted on IVC. They are now stuck on Sheriff's pistols if they even want to save a little bit of money with the Frenzy. But this is a mess. They should be on the bonus by all means. Now they're on the back foot.
Seems that OC, despite the tough situation, had all the answers. Now, IVC going to be the ones to have to answer those questions. Let's seize. We'll certainly give away some information. Entry in position. Can't get out for the time being. Oh, okay.
Berkey! Looking for something. Just can't find it. Eli through the smoke, however. They will find success and stall out any sort of push, because that's the line of sight on the spike. Ought to prevent anyone from peeking. Now it's recovered. But even though they've lost a player, there's still a decent amount of damage onto OC.
That's a valid point, right? Like, got to deal with that. There's no healing available for this agent selection for the defense. And, of course, that does also mean that some of these pistols now a little bit more deadly.
30 seconds left.
That said, Wheaties currently very healthy.
Oh no.
Spike down, B.
Wheaties is enjoying their health while Volk doesn't feel much of the same paranoia from the side. And Wheaties will come to collect. Strategy with a little parting gift. Unfortunately, only one body collected by IVC.
Indeed, and you know, another one of those valid attempts, but just a little bit too far short is where they come up. The gun round, though, coming up now. Los, this is the important one. This is the big one. It's all up to IVC to pick this up. And, you know, the tragedy of this round is that this could have been IVC with a bonus. Instead, it's actually a pretty big investment for entry. Everyone else sticking with the less than perfect weapons.
Consistently, we're seeing, well, as I say consistent, we're only here on the 4th round, but it's been a theme so far that IVC will make a slow look up mid. They're curious, they want to get some information, but here's some info. Entry is pretty darn deep on A long. If anyone wants to come back to that, they might find an unwelcome visitor.
Oh, okay.
With the op, no less. That's 1 for 1. And they'll gladly take that. Unfortunately, they don't have the information that they're willing to try and recover that or prevent a recovery from OC. OC, though, believes that it's a bit more than meets the eye. They will commit a rotation, but it's still a skirmish here on mid. Eli wants a bit more smoke, but they'll retreat and play it safe.
3-on-3, though. This is absolutely still winnable for IVC. They're in a position to do just that, though. That dark cover that just went over towards C, I think it's a one-way. No, just actually set up normally. But Instinct, one of the guys I talked about was this Instinct player.
Well, they're
one frag.
Rely on those instincts to try and survive under the paranoia. Unfortunately, they could not. But the real issue is Eli behind the platform, playing such a sneaky little devil. Takes down the last two in quick succession. That is a beautiful display, I would say, of trigger discipline, because they knew there was more there.
Yeah, I think you're right. Good patience, indeed, for my Eli. Beyond that, though, OC, I love how they took stock of this situation and were able to reasonably rotate multiple players into position. By the time Instinct got there, he was the second player on that C site. And I think that's ultimately what really set up IVC for failure, is that they weren't expecting a second player. They thought they'd killed the sole defender.
Just a frustrating piece to deal with. Eli, hero of the previous round, right back again. Unfortunately, they don't find the similar amount of success. Volk will deal with that. Pickup of the rifle. Vandal in hand. Op in hand. Unfortunately, no spike in hand.
Yeah, that's tough. This is now incredibly winnable for Oklahoma, even despite the 2-on-4. And this round would be so important for them to win. Wheaties, though, this is a dangerous game.
It's all about waiting for this dark cover to dissipate, or... Oh my god, the timing. And it's going to be Peach Cobbler who finds the perfect moment to succeed. And the showstopper onto Volk.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. Don't really know, but they won the round, so we just got to forget it.
Hey, I'll take it. We'll take it.
We're just gonna move on from any of that. Bola, don't worry about it. We're just gonna hope that it'll be better next time. With that said, what a round to win. I mean, you win 2 rounds, one of them a pistol, the next one a full thrifty. They had barely anything. They had no real weapons that round. It was actually only pistols, if I'm not mistaken. A bunch of sheriffs, sure, but only pistols.
You know, pistol's a pistol.
Ooh.
Hunter's Fury. Decent amount of damage. Only be nice to remove some of the shields there. But
Caught 3 tags.
Bring them down.
3. I'm doing the quick eye examination of the health. Maybe. But
I think it caught a little bit of shield damage only, though. On the other. That's what I'm referring to. I could be wrong, though.
thing is, all it told them was that IVC, they're doing it again. They're sitting around in mid and window. They haven't done anything yet, but this is the true indicator. It's go time. Nightfall activated. Unfortunately, no one wants to move into garage. The real fight begins on C site, and it is won handily. Saint has no chance. Murky and crew have flawlessly taken C site.
Murky was one of those players that consistently looked to deliver for IVC in the game we watched all the way back in the first week of this broadcast, and Murky once again delivering here and now. Now Wheaties has collected at least one frag towards garage, but this is just about getting exits, if anything, and, well, beyond that, saving these guns. With a loss against the Thrifty in the last round, and now 3 out of their 5 players down, Oklahoma, they're starting to run low on creds. So it's time to go for the save. It makes a lot of sense considering that, especially with entry on the operator. We've already seen what entry can do with that when it's starting to roll, and keeping that alive and well is an important factor going into the next round. But a tied game for Irvine Valley College, that's something that I don't know that I necessarily expected to see. The other thing I didn't expect was 2 Thrifty wins in the first 6 rounds. 1 per side.
You know, that's all about subverting expectations. You think you're safe with the rifles in hand? Definitely not. And I'm loving it. I'm enjoying the competition and the competitive edge that we're seeing from IVC. They've got an op in hand. It's going to be with Bola. I want to see some snipes. I want results here because I would say offensively, ops don't do too well here on Haven.
Ooh. Entry once again. Just that, an entry kill towards the A-long position, and it looks like IVC might not be done yet. They want a little bit more. I don't think you want this.
That is a wild endeavor, especially now. Prowler gives information near sight as well. But we have a continuation of a push down long. Vogue leading the charge. Dangerous game considering they have the spike in hand. If they're caught out with that, that may be the end of the round.
Prowler goes out, just gathering information on A, but there's still 2 players here, and they're not been dealt with yet.
Here comes that C's entry. Still sending some shots down with the op. 1 left if they want to take it, but Instinct in the back line has created a real issue. There's a flank in play. Or will they expect him inside of the spawn? No way! There's a freebie on the loose.
30 seconds left.
Wait, Instinct didn't see either one of them either, but Weedy sure will.
Enemy remaining.
Oh my god, Wheaties. Removes 1. Instinct finds the rotating Sodachi. Bola has the opportunity. They have to simply go for the spike plant. That's all they could do. Maybe fight from Link. But do they realize Eli's already in sight? Spectre in hand. Headshot to follow. And OC will take the lead right back.
They will, and I can't believe that Instinct was in spawn, and it didn't come to anything. That's tragic. It feels like if you've done the work to get there, you should at least have something to walk away with, but no. Look at that scoreboard, Los. Is it 4 out of 5 players for Oklahoma are currently on 6 frags? Don't see that every day. That's pretty funny. But I gotta give props to IVC. They've started out this map incredibly strong, and they've been doing a good job of keeping this incredibly competitive. This is a game that currently I can see going either way. And when you put into context that this team only found 10 total rounds last time these guys met, that's impressive.
Speaking of impressive, 2 quick kills to take C site as well as Garage from the shadows to bring the spike over in a safe manner. And this is going to be such an extended retake if they decide to do it. Look how far away Eli is.
He might as well be in Narnia right now. I think this is just posturing. I don't think there's actually a retake here.
Yeah. Oh. What? How does Entry get that? Okay.
He almost got that second one.
They needed to be stopped after that. A bit of an overheat scenario. But the fact that Wheaties actually has earned themselves on the site, that is a little intriguing. It raises a few questions, but then again, it was more a C-long post-plant setup anyway.
Yeah, I think what's more intriguing about that for me is the why they invested so heavily. It felt like that round was already lost based on the amount of time the spike had taken. Maybe they were thinking, was it Wheaties who was out long?
It was Eli.
Yeah, so I think they might have been thinking that Eli would collect a couple of kills over towards long, but when that didn't happen, I kind of would have liked to see OC go back for a save. Regardless, what's done is done, and we're in the next round, so we'll move on. As have Oklahoma 4-4, and it's a bye, but it's a bit hamstrung. It's not the full weight of the purchase here, but it's certainly good enough.
Okay, here's the subtle thing. We know the lockdown is going to be utilized, and there was a planting of the seed. A nanoswarm in the corner in C-Long, because that's the only saving grace that you have away from this lockdown, but it was spotted by Bola.
Oh.
So plan foiled. Both might want more out of this one. Going for the destruction.
Oh, he didn't get it.
Not the case. Oh, my. Oh, that was a gamble. That was certainly a major gamble. Paranoid potentially coming
What?
through. No, Murky doesn't have a chance. Rolling Thunder sent after the round is already over. An unfortunate situation.
It was initiated prior to the round ending, but it ended up not hitting the spike diffuser until they just had gotten past it. That's such an unfortunate timing. But the reality of it is that now, well, IVC, they're minus a round win, and they're minus a Rolling Thunder. So, not ideal. Not ideal in the slightest. From that position, though, Oklahoma, they can now start to push that advantage.